Okay, so hello guys, it's me Gaming Star here, and today I am back for another episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Last time we basically started off the first half of day 3 trial, and yeah, we basically done with my Lincoln 70 places. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the second half of the trial for day 3. Let's go. All right, here we go. The court will never concede for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Mayapon? Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross the intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jacob Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard it actually described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room in the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? At the vessel? It's the balance of desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Y'all. Maybe it's best we get off the quickly. I hate the word y'all. I swear to God, am I the one who hates the word y'all so much because of how fucking overused it is? So people be like, and like Twitter, y'all motherfuckers, like, I'm so tired of hearing it. I swear to God, I'm tired of it. In plain old English? Thank you, Judge. I agree with you for once. God, Judge. I'm tired of the y'all bullshit. I don't know, I'm just tired of that. I really am. True. We're on the bone orchard. So I'm supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but it ain't my style. So I was only protected by 2 security systems anyway. I remember right, I was in a street side saloon. Time to get gunned down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so you're out of ammo to hit the trial. Hey Mario. You looking mama? Can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Ooh. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean security cameras and ID card render. I reckon every cowpoke like you knows about those. Yeah, so what about the fingerprint activated locks and evidence lockers? Fingerprint activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not good with machines or following orders. Everyone's got their weakness. Now, don't we, Mr. Prosecutor? Recording. Seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Alright, let's go. Day of the crime. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Were you at the saloon? Were you really? That could find it. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd that is you being called and testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here? Explain yourself, partner. Well, that's easy. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind your scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. It's a real good partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of the crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. Only natural my fingerprints will be in there. I only wish you were true, officer. But you see, the fingerprints were covered in blood. Oh. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene? Oh. The blood was wiped away, however. A luminal test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me. There ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin with your testimony about your fingerprints. Found at the scene of the crime. Blood-stained fingerprints. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprints touched his hands. The blood-stain and the fingerprints are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I have nothing to do with it. But it was your fingerprints still, so how the hell? I don't know. The witness' explanation appears valid. Although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may not cause you having a witness. This guy's hiding something. I can feel it. Nothing chance to prove it. Alright, boys. Hold it! That's because you, how do you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. And one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that is a new those heap of broken dreams. I see. To be strange, my prints weren't all over the locker. Apparently his fingerprint data wasn't removed in the locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprints lock all the time without ever knowing it. Prints have been wiped. 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you know that? It may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up the reports. There was a blood stain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found in Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on the handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hands on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint? That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? Partner. The picture. This seal of blood in the desert is just full of the buzzards. Or the vultures. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape? So long as my trial isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully when you're going through cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Alright, let's go. Too bad it wasn't me. In the video, right, partner? Was it, though? Was it? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? Yeah. If so, that video is only direct evidence you have. Alright. But that video is next to useless. It's the full blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. Yeah, because you know how it just moves back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. Yeah, that's what he did. He straight just left. That's the most likely explanation. Most likely. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please so do. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright. You may wind up being one mistake. Now then, let's take a look at the video. Show us the incriminating evidence. Alright, so let's fast forward. Back to his locker. There's nothing over there hanging yet, so soon there will be. Let's go fast forward. Alright, there's Minkins. They're fighting. There's an assault going on back there. He's unconscious on the floor. And there you go. Right there. Slipping on the locker. Bring our attention back to the security camera. It's a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, so around its tempers. Would you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Alright, yeah. Very well. You can clearly be seen in the video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video, which is your locker. The locker with the white cloth sticking out. And that's the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Oh, the white cloth is gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence about the time of the crime. What's more, you opened the locker when the camera was turned away. Order! Order! It would seem that's the only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner. But you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. Another one needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's all not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? Because you are. This guy isn't just plain dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call you bluff. You say I open that locker? Now prove it. The locker itself. Fingerprint sensor? Yeah. We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened to belong to detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something like this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There aren't even some people in the force that don't know about fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! Well, that's a red stain no. Okay. Order. Wait, explain yourself. This is a joke. It's the worst I've ever heard. I sure there's no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing at the evidence room at the time of the crime. Ole, please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? I have to look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide from the evidence room. Yet Officer Minkins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right, the only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Wait a minute. At the V spot? Officer Marshall was standing right here. There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Minkins looked at the detective in the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he knew for sure. There's no faces. May I point out that Officer Minkins did not know Detective Goodman? He hasn't testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked to show him scars, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why did he just show it? Yes, he would have needed to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on the ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Minkins would have realized the man was Detective Goodman. So you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. I got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? You're still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. Can't say I care for your beer, but you don't see me complaining. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving you're beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can't see that fear in your eyes, partner. Seems like you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. So obviously he's the one we're connected to. It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to what when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. It shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was open in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance he might be discovered later as it been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that the white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that. He opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just exactly what is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video and the key is our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so the video is my only shot. Let's go. Very well. Let's take another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness did so. Alright, let's fast forward back to where the attack happened. Okay, there he is. The locker. Then there's Minkins. Then... There we go. So you see that he has blood right here on the side already. Why does his hand look like that? What the hell? Is that animation error? It looks like it's like that. His arm is all bloodied. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I do not know to what end yet. Yeah. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Minkins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Minkins panicked. The white coat you were wearing is soiled with blood. Bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I understand it, y'all. I hope you're unhappy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as pristine as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. See, time has come. I had to do it that day. I just couldn't stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. Taking out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Minkins. I knocked him out. He managed to escape, which errors couldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any motor in the evidence room until 5:15. So the supposed victim was really here. There is one thing I still don't understand. Traces of large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Sir Minkins managed to cut his own hand. I guess he's on the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Don't look at me like that, man.
Start thinking about your interview.
When you say, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? That's a non-incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely have the transfer that day. If there was anything to do with it. The incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only the case lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. The case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of the investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID, just like him. Alright, come on. Alright. Why did you discuss with Detective Goodman? I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal. I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. See, it did fool the security camera and the detective ID card I stole the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out the lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left down the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card was found was left by the Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean, the fingerprint activated the lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that lock yourself. But he could have just rubber gloves because he happened to get stuck by the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. Wasn't expecting Officer Minkins. I knocked him out. Hold it. You pull a knife on Officer Minkins to try to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Minkins certainly is one in a million type of person. Sticking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID? I have to think a little more about this raise this year. Oh god. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and ended up cutting him slightly. Slightly? That's a lot of blood. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. Me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Minkins out and... Alright, hold it. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go on the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. All God's plan, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Minkins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been it. I opened up my locker and stashed it in there. So Officer Minkins during that time. What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day... Bloody murder. But the blood found in the scene indicates this crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown in the tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth? Where's the evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Who though? Mr. Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country, after all. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Free speech. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. You can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Rather salary cuts are even a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one's mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness' unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more.
Bloody murder. Bloody.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see if I can find the SO97 file. Ah, here we go. Whoa, this is a big file. Incident closed. Perpetrator Joe Dark. Crime, serial murder, sentence death. Victims Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Rachel Moss, Neil Marshall, Jed Bates, Edith Kirby. Head prosecutor Miles Edgeworth. Witnesses Lana Sky, Emma Sky. Executive investigators Dan and Gant and Lana Sky. Head investigator Bruce Goodman. Investigators Jake Marshall and Angel Star. Objection! Here. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you were scared so much with the SLN incident. Sounds like you've been slipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. Twice. There's a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What, a prosecutor? He must be talking about the Night King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled SN9 incident before I did. No, I just have him there. That's right, he was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Dan and Gant, the deputy chief of police. No. Texas. AirPods. Pro.
I know, but this is the new one.
Yeah,
Oh, why are you putting it there?
because I do. That's what I'm doing. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Doc.
Oh, but this is your charger. If you want to charge your iPods too. That's what I'm saying. You need it.
Yeah. My brother found Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That's all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case finally closed. At least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Doc. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have been him in the fight. And that's it. That's your reason you're insane actions. You could take that CD one if you want. That's all, but yeah, I don't want it. It's a whole bunch of CDs. Oh, that's mine. Yeah. There's more my brother's death than the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, You can't fool me. Well, there's one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened to the police department the day of the crime. Last day, Elsa Linus could be reopened. So I thought it was religion officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguised himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Minkins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. Where though? The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, the fake murder was going to the police department. Where's chance? It's got to be more than just that. So if no one is the murder of the police department the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's parking lot was a real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait, a verdict has been reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident in the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There's yet remains the mystery of simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me this boy's got a draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. So, murder took place in the prosecutor's office and they suspect Lana Skye. The testimony is one Miss Angel starts completely inconsequential. If you have a response, make a single word or less. Ah! I rest my case. The boys. Trial's reached a conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time. To prove the alleged murder of the police department. Oh, that's another Switch charger. I have like 3 of those. This one here, 2 of those. That's for the Joy-Con. Yeah. No doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder was really fake, but I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now that the time of break was arrived, of course, find the defendant. Your Honor, wait! Emma? The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Oh, those are games. Play with the games.
With the games.
Yeah, they're games. What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright? Are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, I'm only asking a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edward, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out that's not an incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now she mentions it. The names of both Skye and his sisters were in the file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. Well, that's the only thing. The other handprint remained the traces of blood found in Detective Gumshoe's locker. But no fingerprints were found in the crime. No, I figured out scientifically to be sure I found it clear. So I ran over there and looked it right again. Did find something. No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a science investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. Just high school student. And I'm just an attorney. And Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. Can't find something wrong with them. Please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. I'm gonna say, Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident in the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking for the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be more of use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with the blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. We're gonna need to concentrate now. What could be wrong with the handprint in Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something missing? I object. Handprint left at the crime scene. Clearly shows contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is you're grasping, Mr. Wright. Been staring pretty intently at the floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at this floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that went raw. Completely changed the meaning of the blood mark. Let's pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question of proof, what is it? The blue badger panel. What about the piece of plywood? The blue badger, mascot of the police force. Defender, truth, guardian of proof. Explaining yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The badger is not here. So watch what happens when you put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? Ah! That's right. So long as the blue badger's dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at the spot in the locker. What? Boy. So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undoubtedly found in the locker. Don't look at me! I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think through scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Minkus was the one who brought the blue badger to the evidence room, right? Maybe it was him. After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint in the locker. So that must mean his blood mark was left there before the blue badger was brought in? Just one moment, I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on the tape taken by the security camera. Officer Minkins cut his hand from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is the other time. No one knows how. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown in the tape. It had to have been. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security cam is proven to be fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found in the locker. So then, assuming this murder you perpetrated really happened, when did it take place? Are the venue show evidence that proves it when it occurred? When did the first incident occur? Summarizes the defense claims that prior to Officer Minkins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in the evidence room. That's right, the blood mark at the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us. When did the first incident occur? Ms. Archer said proof shows there's only one piece on the second to show that. Now then, please present the evidence. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have entered. In order to do so, the ID card was required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Then who's the last guy? That's the thing. Who's the last guy that went in? I think I already know who it is. Let's see here. 450. The crime took place would be 440. Ah! Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never would have figured out. You had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a thought to figure out it could have been Min. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Minkins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood of the first crime was wiped away. But the real murder would have just had 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. That was physically impossible. It would mean the crime would have been taking place before Miss Archer entered the evidence room. Let's take a look at the chart again. 77777777777. That's a lot of sevens. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record for his card being used beforehand, it must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. She went with 777777777. Listeners, please take a look ASAP. Find those ID numbers 7777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of the ID card, at least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 777 belongs to someone with the rank of a captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have any authority to inquire into such a person's identity. That's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation in which if he grants authority, an official charge filed against executive accepted. An official charge? You're all like, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries, that's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, that's been sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number. It's not 77777. Don't play me for a fool, pun. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. That's the land incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. The trial 2 years ago. Did you really use the only as legitimate evidence? Yeah, this thing is long. Mr. Repeat's question, Chief Prosecutor. I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. Only 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution of this trial. At the time, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Well, Lana, I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. Before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look at me, an investigator at the crime, in the eye to say you did? Chief Prosecutor, you did it! I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Oh. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did all we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order! Oh god, that's a lot of words. Lana's remarks caused such a suit, the chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. Okay, this episode's getting... Okay, this is already long. Holy crap. Alright, I'm gonna end it here. So, yeah. See you guys next. Bye.